And as mentioned, tomorrow is officially Election Day, but lawsuits over voting have already begun. According to one report, there have already been nearly 200 cases filed so far in U.S. courts. One of the biggest involves the state of Pennsylvania. The Supreme Court recently rejected an emergency plea by the state's Republicans. They were seeking to reject around 9,000 mail-in ballots that lacked a secrecy envelope, a signature, or a date. And for analysis, we turn now to Paul Clement, partner at Clement and Murphy Law Firm, and an attorney who has argued more than 100 cases before the Supreme Court. Paul, great to have you on the show with us. First, let's talk about the Pennsylvania case. The justices sided with the state Supreme Court in Pennsylvania regarding the mail-in ballots. Tell us more about that, and especially about Justice Alito's brief opinion on it.
Happy to, and great to be with you. The court pretty much unanimously rejected the request to get involved in that case. Justice Alito, joined by two other justices, wrote separately, just essentially to explain his vote and his belief that the court really wasn't in a position to give any relief in that case, given the posture of the case, namely that it came out of a challenge to the primary elections, not actually to the general election statewide.
Paul, the Supreme Court stayed on the sidelines after the 2020 election, refusing to hear appeals from the Trump campaign. Over the last year, the nation's highest court has had some influence, reversing a decision by the Colorado Supreme Court to remove Trump from the primary election ballot and then giving broad immunity to the presidency. Do you think the Supreme Court will be involved in any other cases this election season?
So I think the court is going to stay out of this election if at all possible. Now, it may not be possible. Many of the viewers will remember the 2000 election where the Supreme Court did get involved essentially with two decisions culminating in the Bush v. Gore case. So it's possible, but I think the court is going to do everything it can to stay on the sidelines once again.
Yeah, and remind us again about what happened back in 2000 for those that may not remember.
So the state courts, essentially in the Supreme Court's view, just made such a mess out of the voting and the counting of the votes, essentially changing the rules midway through the election and having different standards in different counties. And so first, the Supreme Court unanimously got involved in a forgotten case called Palm Beach County. And then the court ultimately intervened to say that the voting was proceeding in an impermissible way in Florida in the Bush v. Gore case.
And Paul, before I let you go quickly, what's the likelihood that you think that the Supreme Court will ultimately step in at some point this year?
I think it's unlikely. I think it would have to be a situation like Bush v. Gore, where it really comes down to the electoral votes in a single state being dispositive to the outcome of the election, and then there being some legal issue in the way that state is counting its votes. I think those would be the ingredients that would be necessary for the Supreme Court to even think seriously about getting involved.
Paul, thank you so much for coming on today and for your expertise. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.